The results of the first 5-year plan is by a Russian artist named Varvara Stepanova. And she is an artist in what's called the constructivism era, which is art specifically from and about Russia. Context-wise, before 1922, Russia had been involved, of course, in World War I and also in a civil war. And the end result of those two things brought about a change in government, really, in the Soviet Union. And prior to this, Russia had been led by a czar, and a czar with his family, and it was more of a single ruler here, like a king. Then, under Lenin, what was established instead is the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics. And this notion of messages needing to be sent out to celebrate, to be actively a message of propaganda for this new government was something that a lot of artists got involved with, and Stepanova is an example of that. She worked for a propaganda magazine, which you see a picture of it on the right, called the USSR in Construction. And this was a magazine that was sent out mostly to foreign countries, United States, Britain, those places where the propaganda machine would be helpful to have this impression of the Soviet Union be very positive, and that this new government change was something that all people should model themselves after. So that's step one, is knowing who Lenin is. And really, he's the one to establish this new kind of communist government. So after Lenin's death, you have a ruler named Stalin, Joseph Stalin, take over. And the art in the magazines, the USSR in Constructions, was celebrating Stalin for his accomplishments, and in particular, a plan called the 5-year plan. And that's what you see in the title of the piece. And that plan was started by Joseph Stalin to grow the economy and to improve industry, specifically to grow the military, to increase steel production, and to turn their farming into something called collective farming. And the messages coming out about that in the magazines was that it was the best plan ever. People were very happy and they were thriving, and the economy was growing, military was growing. But in reality, the plan ultimately leads to poverty, farmers having to give up their land, famine amongst the people. So knowing this, art became a way to hide the failure of Stalin and the failure of his 5-year plan, and even in a bigger way, the failure perhaps of this new form of government that had been established now since Lenin. So content-wise, one important term is a photo montage. That would be the technique here for this piece. So photo montage is definitely a vocab term on our list. And you've probably made a photo montage before. Take a whole bunch of pictures and put them together like in a scrapbook or collage style to make like one unified image. And that's exactly what a photo montage is here as well. So Stepanova is taking 2 or more photos, but they also included text, newspaper clippings to create the image. So here, what she's done to really, really focus you on the message at hand, the propaganda message, is to have few colors. And so the red really stands out, and red is the color of power. But red is also the color of the Russian flag at the time. So that is the association there. You see the letters CCCP, which are the Russian letters for the USSR, and I've pointed out where those are. Instead of putting Stalin, you have really the father of the movement and of the new government, and that's Vladimir Lenin, and he's in the upper right. Proportion-wise, he's like the big giant head from Oz, right, from the Wizard of Oz, and speaking out beyond, he's kind of looking out to the future and speaking out to the people, and they are gathered there in mass in the black and white, just kind of people and crowds everywhere. And it's supposed to communicate the popularity of the program, how people are engaged and supportive of Lenin and his ideas. And then also you're going to have some of the modern technology, like the wires and the kind of the structure, almost looking like an electrical grid of sorts by Lenin. That suggests then the improvement, of course, in the technologies and in the economy and the productivity of Russia under Lenin, and then also under Stalin. In fact, just under the letters CCCP and kind of to the left, lower left, you see a 5, and that is a reference to Stalin's 5-year plan. Even though it's a failure, it is being promoted as, of course, a success. So I see here in this image definitely cubic influence, the fractured nature of the scene with like the triangle in the lower right. It's definitely has cubism influence. You have that lines from the electric grid leading you. You kind of start with Lenin, and then it leads you to the other parts in the image. It's kind of this energetic, very focused piece on the strength of Lenin and the program of Stalin's and the people's support. It's just this phenomenal propaganda piece. So I would definitely say, as you can tell, function here, propaganda. Formal quality, you could do color of the flag of Russia, and color to suggest power and strength. You could do proportion as well, with Lenin being proportionately larger than everything else, as the powerful leader who instituted this huge shift in Russia and looking to the future, and what a glorious future it's expressing here. And then, of course, emphasis as well as a formal quality, emphasizing the 5-year plan, emphasizing the change with the new letters for the USSR, and the emphasis also with black and white on the crowds and the people. I think black and white almost makes them look like it goes on forever, and there's many more people than there actually is. So again, that is Varvara Stepanova, a female artist. I want to make note of that as well. And she is a propaganda artist, photo montage artist, leading the way in Russia at this time period in the 1920s, 1930s for Russia's propaganda message about the 5-year plan.